She's not testing you because she's playing games. She's doing it because she has to. And here's what most men spend years never figuring out. These tests aren't planned. She doesn't wake up thinking, "Today I'll see how he handles pressure." It's wired into her. Something she probably couldn't explain even if she tried. Now be honest with yourself for a second. Have you ever been in a situation where everything felt good, real connection, real warmth, and then something shifted? She got cooler, more distant, and you couldn't figure out what changed, so you did what most men do. You tried harder. You explained yourself. Maybe you apologized for something you weren't even sure you did wrong. And the more you reached, the further she pulled back. That wasn't random. That was a response. And how you reacted told her something about you that no words ever could. Here's what I want you to understand. Women aren't cruel for doing this. What's actually happening is far more interesting. And once you see it clearly, it changes everything about how you show up. There are 3 specific tests that almost every woman runs a man through, usually without realizing she's doing it. Most men fail all 3. Not because they're weak, but because nobody ever told them what was actually being measured. Think about what attraction really is for a woman. It's not just looks or status, or whether you made her laugh over dinner. Underneath all of that, there's something much more primal running the show. Somewhere deep in her nervous system, she's constantly asking one question. Can I trust this man when things get hard? Not, is he nice when everything's easy? Anyone can be charming over a good meal. The real question is what he does when there's friction, when she pushes slightly, when the moment gets uncomfortable. Most men have been conditioned to interpret a woman's emotional withdrawal as a problem to fix, something they caused. So the automatic response is to move toward it, to over-explain, to reassure, to shrink just enough to smooth things over. And I've seen this happen 1,000 times. A man who's genuinely good starts chasing her comfort instead of holding his own ground. And the moment he does that, something shifts in how she sees him. Wait, let me rephrase that so it hits home. When a woman creates a moment of tension and a man rushes to dissolve it, what she subconsciously registers isn't kindness, it's anxiety. A man who needs her to be okay in order for him to be okay. And that quiet dependency erodes the thing she's actually drawn to. What is she drawn to? Steadiness. Not coldness, not indifference. Steadiness. The sense that her mood, her silence, her uncertainty doesn't knock him off his axis. A man who panics when she goes quiet cannot be relied upon, but a man who notices the shift, stays calm, and continues being exactly who he was 5 minutes ago, that man just passed a test she didn't even know she was giving. Test 1. The pressure test. This one almost never looks like pressure. That's the whole point. It usually shows up as something small, a comment that lands slightly wrong, a moment where she says something a little sharp and then watches, without appearing to watch, how you respond. Not what you say, how you respond. In your body, in your energy. Picture this. You're maybe 4 dates in. Things have been genuinely good. And then one evening she says, almost casually, "I'm not sure this is going anywhere." Your chest tightens. Your mind moves fast. And in that half second before you speak, everything is decided. Most men go straight into defense mode. They start explaining why it is going somewhere. They list their qualities without realizing it. They get slightly more eager, slightly more available. Maybe they apologize, though they're not sure what for. And what happens next is what most men never notice. She doesn't feel more secure. She feels less. Because what she just saw wasn't confidence. It was a man whose sense of himself suddenly depended on her approval. Here's what to do instead. Not a performance, not a scripted line, something far simpler. You stay present, relaxed. You let her words land without flinching. You might say something like, "That's fair. I guess we'll both figure that out as we go." And then you let the silence sit there without rushing to fill it. No grand gesture, no emotional speech. Just a man who heard something uncomfortable and didn't collapse around it. In that moment of stillness, she learns that you don't need to control every outcome to feel secure, that uncertainty doesn't make you desperate, and that she's sitting across from someone who actually has a floor. Men who have a floor don't crumble when pushed, and women feel that floor even when they can't name it. Test 2. The indifference test. This one sneaks in through warmth, through comfort, through the ease of a relationship that's going well. Things are settled between you. She knows you care. And then slowly, she pulls back just slightly. Not dramatically. She's just a little less available. Responses take longer. Plans feel slightly more effortful. The man who doesn't understand this reads it as fading interest. So he compensates, reaches out more, becomes more attentive, more accommodating. Engineers reasons for her to feel good around him. And the more he compensates, the more she withdraws. Not because she wants to hurt him, but because she's just confirmed something she was afraid of. That his sense of the relationship's value depends entirely on her emotional output. What she's actually measuring, without knowing she's measuring it, is whether he still has a life, whether he has direction and substance that exists independently of her. Attraction isn't just connection, it's contrast. A man who's fully absorbed into a relationship, who has no gravitational pull of his own, stops being interesting. Not because he's a bad person, but because there's no space left, no sense that he has somewhere else to be. Be the fixed light, not cold, not unavailable, but rooted, engaged with your own life in a way that doesn't waver just because she's temporarily dimmer. Practically, this looks like a man who, when she's distant on a Tuesday evening, doesn't text 3 times by Wednesday morning. Who goes to the gym instead, calls a friend, shows up to their next interaction with genuine energy. Not manufactured cheerfulness, but the aliveness of a man who's actually been living. She leans back in, not because he played a game, but because the space he held reminded her of who he is. Test 3. The identity test. This one is the quietest. And because it's quiet, most men walk right through it without knowing it was there. It's not a single moment. It's a slow, patient observation running continuously in the background. Watching not what you say about yourself, but what you actually do with yourself. Whether the man she was drawn to at the beginning is still the man standing in front of her 6 months later. Here's a scene I want you to picture. Sunday afternoon, 8 months in. He's sitting across from her, coffee going cold beside him. She mentions something she's excited about, a trip, a project, something that lights her up. He listens. He nods. He says, "That sounds great. Whatever you want to do." Kind response, genuinely kind. But there's something missing. No perspective of his own. No gentle pushback. No personal angle. No evidence that there's an interior life running alongside hers. Just smooth, frictionless agreement. And what she subconsciously hears in that moment isn't partnership. It's absence. She didn't fall for a mirror. She fell for someone who occasionally reflected something back at her. Something surprising, something real. And when that stops, something in the attraction quietly dims. The fix isn't dramatic. It starts with noticing when you've been agreeing out of habit rather than genuine alignment. It starts with letting yourself have a preference, out loud, even when it's easier not to. With protecting 1 or 2 things in your life that are just yours, not to shut her out, but because a man with depth has places she can't fully follow him. And paradoxically, that draws her closer. Not the distance itself, but the sense that there's still more of you to discover. What all three tests are really saying. These tests aren't obstacles between you and a good relationship. They're the relationship finding out if you're real. A woman who pushes slightly, who pulls back occasionally, who watches how you carry yourself when things aren't perfectly smooth. She's not trying to make your life harder. She's trying to find out if you're actually there. If what she's responding to is you, or just a polished version of what you think she wants to see. The men who pass these tests aren't made of stone. They feel the pull to apologize, to reach for reassurance, just like anyone else. What's different is that they've learned, through experience, through painful lessons, that their value doesn't live in someone else's reaction to them. They know who they are when no one's watching, and she feels that. Not because he told her, but because it shows up in the way he holds eye contact a half-second longer than necessary. In the way he disagrees, warmly but clearly, without needing to win. In the way he laughs without checking to see if she's laughing too. Small things, but she always notices, and those small things accumulate into something she can't name, but absolutely feels. That this man is safe to love. Not safe as in predictable, safe as in solid. That's what she's been looking for through every test, every moment of friction, every quiet withdrawal. Not perfection, just proof that you're actually there. I don't share these ideas for everyone. Most men will hear this, feel something real for a moment, and go right back to the same patterns tomorrow. Not because they don't care, but because understanding something and actually living differently because of it, those are two very separate things. If you're the kind of man who wants to close that gap, Senior Harmony Life exists for you. Not for quick answers or easy formulas. For men willing to look honestly at themselves and do the slower, more meaningful work. Subscribing is a small signal. Not to me, to yourself. And before you go, which of these three tests have you run into most in your own life? Put it in the comments. Be honest. It's always where real change begins.